In what came as a huge surprise to the Nigerian government, the refusal by Canada to grant visa to top military officers of the Nigerian army, especially the Chief of Defense Staff. Nigeria and Canada's bilateral ties tilts on a very tight rope with a possibility of snapping into a major diplomatic row. Nigerians and the world at large are now waiting to see how Nigeria will address this matter, which the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, terms disrespectful. I'm delighted to have Nigeria's former Deputy High Commissioner to the United States, Ambassador Hassan Mohammed. He joins us now on Arise Prime Time. Ambassador Hassan, glad to have you join us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
What was your initial reaction when you learned this non-issuance of visa to the CDS and other military top echelon?
Well, I was surprised that something should happen, something like this should happen to our top military officers. But you have to dig below the surface to see what the issue was. So we called them up at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and they said they have instituted an investigation. They are investigating the whole process and to see who is at fault, apportion the blame, and make amends. That's what diplomacy is all about.
Yeah, that's what diplomacy is about. Since your foray into the diplomatic terrain, have you ever heard of any such precedent? Has there been precedents in your foray into this diplomatic, I mean a country refusing to issue visas to high caliber military officials or even high caliber government? Has there been any such that you know about?
Yeah, I've never been in the visa section of the ministry or any of our missions. I personally have been an economist, and I always maintain, but that doesn't bar me from knowing what the processes of issuing visa is all about. So the processes are, you know, when we have high government officials having diplomatic passports or official passports, they normally compile, if they are to travel, they normally get their lists ready and they come to Foreign Affairs and they get what we call a diplomatic note to that embassy. So that is why I said they are investigating to know what has happened. So for me, I can't, as a diplomat, I can't say anything yet, because if I say something, knowing my background and my caliber in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs before, it will be taken out of context. So it's always good, and be patient, follow the rules, and find out what the whole thing is all about. Then you know what action to take.
Yeah, you've made that point. I was just wondering, what I was actually asking was, since your time being an ambassador, has it ever occurred, I mean, this sort of incidents?
Yeah.
That high level being refused visas, you know?
It's not the refusal per se. We have had cases where there are breaches of communication. Breach of communication is that officers going direct to the embassies, and the embassies will bounce them back. The normal routine is you get a diplomatic note to a diplomatic embassy when you are an official. If you're private, that one is different. But I believe these high-level military officers must have communicated to the ministry to know what has happened. So we are now, and if these things are not followed, the tendency is there for them to bounce them back. So we have to wait. We have to wait to know what the whole thing is all about.
Yeah, I'll come back to that to talk about that diplomatic note. So as it is now, which as we sit here talking, because my next question will be what reasons Canada is adducing for, in quote, what you could call a shocking action. So nothing yet from Canada? Have you heard anything from Canada?
I haven't heard anything from Canada. I only went to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and they told me they are investigating.
Okay, so they're still investigating. Now, the NSA Nuhu Ribadu, in his response, used a swear word. This, of course, can be official response to the matter, but that was his response. So what do you make of his, I'm sure you know his response, so what do you make of his reaction? I know one part of it is that this is disrespectful, that's all right. But then the other part, what do you make of the other part?
Which are the other
parts? Well, he said Canada can go to hell.
Canada won't go to hell.
So what do you make of that?
You see, there are responses that are too instant. And in diplomacy, we don't take those responses seriously because is not well thought out and is kind of a response that is off the cuff. So I still want and I wish Nigerians will be patient and see the matter through and let's have the outcome.
Yeah, of course. We have to be. Nigerians have to be. Even though tempers are boiling. I mean, I know comments have been made about his response. You know, why would you say Canada go to hell? Just like you said, Canada can't go to hell. You know, but it was on the spur of the moment. But then, of course, he's not a diplomat. But then maybe he should also be told on which ways. Even though he has said, that he. At the forum where the CDS brought this out in the open, Nuhu Ribadu thanked the CDS for having the courage to talk about it. What else would he have done? He should talk about it, shouldn't he? I mean, that was what is, and I was wondering. Of course, he should talk about it. He should bring it out into the open for everybody to know. Or did you expect him to hide it or something?
No, I didn't expect him to hide it, but I didn't expect it. I didn't expect that. I mean, it's something between an embassy and officials of the Nigerian government, and how relevant the topic is vis-a-vis what he was there for.
Doing, okay.
That's a different matter. Maybe he also mentioned that he didn't. I believe he didn't mean Nigeria should do anything, or I believe he will want the investigations to get.
Maybe he was just saying it in passing. Maybe something like, I was supposed to be here.
Exactly.
Now, but certain things happened.
Yes.
Maybe that was what.
Yes.
And
I hope so.
And then the NSA took it that way. All right. What approach? Like I did talk about in my lead opening. What approach should the government adopt, a government like Nigeria adopt, when things like this are core? Of course, you talk about retaliation, you talk about reciprocity. So what approach should the government adopt?
Yeah, I'll still go back to we wait for what the outcome will give us. Based on the outcome, we take action. We are free to take action because then we have seen what has gone through. And we are convinced that these gentlemen have not been, their requests for visa have not been treated honorably. As such, the ball is in our court to take whatever measures diplomatically that we will want to take. But for now, I want everybody to stay where he is.
Like the soldiers will say, as wire. Okay,
Yes.
okay, let me just assume, I don't know whether we can do that, assume that maybe ceteris paribus, maybe, let me assume that Canada maybe missed it. In diplomatic circles or things like this, would a reciprocity approach be the best or the most, well, the necessary step to take in issues like this? For example, Trump said something like, if they charge us, we charge them. It's as simple as that. That is reciprocity. Whether it's right or wrong, I'm saying, I'm just asking, supposing,
No, the basis of diplomacy is reciprocity. Whatever somebody does to you and he never apologizes and he says yes, you are free to react. That's reciprocal. And if he does good to you, you are bound to do the person good. If else he feels he shouldn't do anything, you too, he shouldn't do anything. That's what is called the diplomatic norm. So, but again, it's not within the context of one thing happening, then you take that move. Because you have to take the totality of a relationship. And Canada is a very important member of the international community. Nigeria too is a member of the international community of repute. And every nation will want not to have diplomatic row because it is costly, both psychologically, financially, and otherwise. So if there is anything you can do to solve irritants within the relationship, you always take the easy course, because we look at the cost-benefit analysis and see what is the best approach.
More like the diplomatic course. All right, the CDS made a statement. It's obviously disappointed, as he would be. He calls the incident a wake-up call for Nigeria to strengthen its sovereignty and resist being taken for granted by foreign nations.
Absolutely.
What do you think about that?
Absolutely. Nigeria needs to wake up. Nigeria needs to stand tall, because nature and God made Nigeria tall. Nigerians made Nigerians diminutive.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, diplomacy is about human relations. And from experience, we see even in the United Nations, when we go to the UN, we are the only country with the largest delegation. And most of our delegates, they go there, roam the streets of New York, they don't do nothing. And people look at us. I don't know what to say, and again, when such incidences happen, somebody will want, an official is invited for a meeting. He will want to have his wife, he will want to have this, he will want to, but he is only invited. And when he writes to the Foreign Office, he will want, because he is an official or a diplomatic passport holder, the ministry is bound to give him a note. But that note doesn't cover other people attached to him. And you know, Nigerians with their wives, and when the wife is not given on time, normally she won't be denied. But somebody will come up and say, why this, why that? But there are laws and regulations guiding relations amongst nations. And if you get out of line, it becomes, because some countries might not, knowing Nigeria, they might, oh, it's Nigeria. But other people will say, no, because you are an official, the desk officer. It comes to you and you've been given a regulation that this are what is expected. And you see a request coming in and item B is not there. Of course, you will refer to the next boss and they will refer to the ministry. So in such a situation, what do you do?
It's your fault. Because you didn't follow the laid down procedures.
Yes, and again, I'm not blaming anybody.
Okay.
But officials of government, they need to be educated on what to expect when you don't respect the rules. In Nigeria, they say anything goes. But in some places, they don't take anything.
Very important point you're making there. Because in Nigeria, too, everything should not really go. We should begin to learn how to...
That's the essence. That's, I believe, that's what the NSA or then the Chief of Defense Staff said, we have to stand up and we have to assert ourselves. But you can't assert yourself out of futility. You have to assert yourself for a reason. And people will listen and say, oh, he is reasonable in this respect.
Yeah, okay. Still based on that, are you apprehensive about the messaging? Because when I read this, frankly, I may not have used Ribadu's words.
Yes.
But I was pissed. This is Chief of Defense Staff.
Yes.
Wasn't giving a visa, and I'm wondering, what's this? So, are you apprehensive about the messaging this could be sending to other nations as regards its treatment of Nigeria?
Yeah, initially I was apprehensive, but knowing what diplomats are, they'll just meet over a coffee and the matter will be resolved. And I believe the meeting they're going for, if it's still holding, it's likely they will get the matter resolved and they move. Or I believe that there are other people that are on their entourage that are already in Canada. So they can, because that meeting is not a life or death something. So they can always delegate it to somebody.
Somebody.
Yes.
What you have noted is the fact that Nigeria should also seek internal strength rather than external validation.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, Trump says to South Africa, we're not giving you aid. And Ramaphosa said, we can't be bullied. Mm-hmm. You know, Nigeria should begin to think along those lines, whoever is concerned.
Yes.
Because we're a sovereign state. What do you think?
That's diplomacy at the highest level. It's not dealing on officials, president and president. And president gives back to a response accordingly, according to whoever the other president is. So, but I believe they will find a solution to whatever is there.
Whatever is there.
Yes.
That's what we're thinking. Now, a former Nigerian ambassador, Rashid, you probably will know him, King Collier,
okay.
He says such high-ranking officials should typically hold diplomatic passports, and any visa application for such top officials should be routed through Ministry of Foreign Affairs and accompanied by what he called note verbal.
That's diplomatic note.
Or diplomatic note.
Right.
So the question will be, was this done?
That's the investigation I was telling you about. They have to investigate. If the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is at fault, we apportion the blame to them, and whoever is responsible will be treated accordingly. If they did send and not verbal, then what happened to it? So we can't just respond because as a nation is not good. I mean, even in your house, you come and see somebody making noise, one of the kids, and you jump, and you have to know what the whole thing is all about before you take action. That's what a reasonable person should be.
Yeah.
And also a reasonable nation. That's how it should be.
That reminds me of a film I watched where the kids of a man, the kids were making so much noise.
Okay.
And I think somebody was pissed about it and was trying to take action.
Yeah.
Then the man explained to him, no, leave them. Their mother just died.
Yeah.
So they're just trying to get over it. Just like you're saying, if you don't know, you have to take that diplomacy for you before you jump into action.
Exactly.
You have to find out what is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the ambassador recommends inviting the Canadian Honorable High Commissioner in Nigeria here to investigate this. Nigeria has done this, have they?
Yeah, but that's part of the investigation.
But okay, so
I can't tell you if I don't know if he has been invited or not. Okay. But normally he should. But then they will have to know, because there are instances where government officials just rush to the embassy and they bounce it back. In that case, you can't blame anyone.
But shouldn't they know?
That is why I told you that there is the need for top government officials, including members of parliament, including the governors, including their commissioners, to avoid this type of things.
Something like training or something, or a conference to enlighten them on processes.
Yes, processes.
So you don't embarrass yourself and embarrass Nigeria.
Exactly. But if they followed the normal channels, foreign affairs, not embassy, and the embassy bounces it back, then the ministry, they won't even, before he knows that this has happened, the ministry will take it up with them.
All right.
But nowadays, Ministry of Foreign Affairs has virtually lost relevance, because every governor will want, when we joined, a prime minister will be visiting, and you have to send briefs to whoever to the president, and somebody from the ministry will be there, and a protocol officer will be assigned to that guy to know whatever he is and all that. But now, the thing is, everybody knows the job. So how can we perfect ourselves?
Now, that's a minus on us. I mean, that's what am I looking for? Well, okay, again, a minus, even on who is supposed to be in charge? Is the ministry that's supposed to be in charge? So does it mean they're not doing their duties?
They are, but there are competing forces that taking some steps that are not normal. The ministry is supposed to be given these things. They're supposed to, if there is any conference, they take the necessary steps. The layout of the plan of the meeting and everything. But when you go, they have their own protocol. They feel they know everything. Even how you talk to ambassadors is important. Because you see somebody will say, Nigeria, before diplomats, before officials, these are things that are not supposed to be. Nigeria is ours, and we have to protect it.
Yeah. We wait, like you said. Nigerians, of course, will want to know. So we're waiting to see how this ends, because it's an embarrassment.
It's an embarrassment.
And like Nuhu said, it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't include the other one that he said they can, but it's disrespectful. And if it turns out that the CDS did not go through the normal foreign, I mean, this is speculation, I'm just talking. it will be a minus even for him, you know. We hope not.
Yeah,
And
we hope
that
not.
this
We
will
hope
be-
not.
Will be settled.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Ambassador Hassan Mohammed, former Deputy Ambassador to the U.S. for being on our
I'm not a former deputy ambassador. I was a former ambassador, deputy chief of mission, Embassy of Nigeria, Washington,
That
D.C.
deputy is former ambassador, deputy chief of mission. Maybe
yes.
that was where it was.
So
going wrong.
you say ambassador or something? High commissioner or high commissioners belong to Commonwealth
Commonwealth,
countries.
yeah, like Canada is.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for being on the program.
Thank you.